Hi, this is Dr. George Pereira. Welcome to IHS OUM for the course Listening and Speaking in ESL. And today's topic is topic 6, the process of speaking. So these are some questions that I can pose. What are the elements in the communication context? What is the difference between knowledge and skill? What are the motor perceptive and interaction skills? What are the processing and reciprocity conditions of speech and writing? And describe facilitation and compensation devices. So try to find some answers, think about it, what you understand, and keeping these questions in mind, let us move forward. Oral communication. Speech or oral communication is so natural to us that it is taken for granted by most people. So much so that there is a tendency to treat verbally handicapped people as if they are, at best, a little stupid and at worst freaks. So, the physiology of sound production. The physiology of sound production is actually the organs of speech, which you have already been exposed to in earlier topic, I think in topic 1. The organs involved in speech production are depicted in the figure. These can be divided into the subglottal organs, the larynx, and supraglottal organs, and the brain. So this is the picture of the organs involved in speech production. It's all related to the sound, what we hear, and then the whole process of it with the sound, and then the parts of the ear, and then how it goes to the brain, and the perception happens. So, go through some of the parts of this topic, the picture. So you can see the vocal muscles and going to the brain, then from the ear. So all these are connected. Voice, the ear, the brain. So I have some videos for you. So these are the organs involved in speech production, linguistic level, then the physiological, acoustic, physiological level again, the linguistic level. So that's the process. But to make these things easy, so I have some videos for you, speech organs. So you can go through that. Then the pronunciation and phonology in the EFL classroom, place of articulation that comes with the speech production. So you can watch these videos from YouTube. These are the links. So every organ used in speech has another primary function. So some of the things are mentioned here. The lungs and the larynx, the tongue, teeth, and lips are all found in other animals which do not have speech. Larynx. While it may be accurate to say that speech is overlaid on the vocal organs, this claim overlooks the high degree of cerebral specialization unique to humans. So, this special point is unique to humans. So this is a specialization in humans, a cerebral specialization. This specialization of the higher brain centers is awesome in its complexity, permitting the retention of grammar rules and the vocabulary of language. However, beyond this, it permits the fine control and minute synchronization of the various muscles and organs brought into play in speaking. So various parts are integrated in whole this speaking thing, listening and speaking. For all that, even for reading and writing, all these physical organs are involved in it. So these are the videos I showed you earlier, so you can go and see. These are very simple and good videos. So better than the text, I think these will simplify the matters to you. Okay, so let us move forward, and I request you to watch these videos. Receptive and productive skills. Listening and reading are called receptive skills. So remember, listening and reading are called receptive skills, as input is received via these skills while input is produced through speaking and writing. So you note this: listening and reading are receptive, you receive, while speaking is a productive skill and writing is a productive skill. You produce something in writing or in speaking. You receive by listening and reading. So hence speaking and writing are known as productive skills. All four skills are utilized in some form or another in successful communication. Relation of receptive and productive skills to language skills. So this diagram shows that receptive and productive. What are the receptive skills? Listening and reading. Productive skills, speaking and writing. So listening and reading are called receptive skills. So sorry, from this we move to another one. Speaking as a skill. What are the knowledge and skills required for a speaker to make a good presentation? Knowledge and skills, or rather an interesting conversation. Explain. So knowledge and skills both are necessary for speaking. When we speak, we do not merely know how to assemble sounds, words, and sentences in our mind. So we have to actually produce them and adapt them to the communication event. This means making on the spot decisions, implementing them, and adjusting our conversation as unexpected developments or turns crop up. This ability is termed skill. See, on the spot decisions we make, we adjust our conversations and implement certain things. So, when these things happen, unexpected developments and crop ups happen, is actually the skill that comes into play. Knowledge and skills both are necessary. So, knowledge and skill, the difference, distinction between knowledge and skill is crucial in the teaching of speaking. So, read the following statements and decide whether they are true or false. It is possible to know the rules of football but not be much good at playing. True. So, this involves the skill to judge that. It is possible to be good cook but not know many recipes. I think it is true. If you explain to someone just how to ride a bicycle, then she should be able to get on one and ride away. May not be true in my opinion. Okay, what do you think? Just knowing how to ride is not enough, but it's a skill that comes in. So here also, good cook but not know many recipes. Here the knowledge is there and some skills but not many skills. You can be sure if a learner omits the third persons on the verb, third person is on the verb, it is because she doesn't know it. I think it is, I don't agree with that. So, think about it as knowledge and skill. All you need to be good teacher is to know your subject well. No, you need the skill of teaching, the art of teaching. So from the above exercise, we can see that even for activities other than using language, knowledge itself is not sufficient. Knowledge must be used in action. So what is the difference between knowledge and skill? The answer is that while both can be understood and memorized, only a skill can be imitated and practiced. You practice it, you can put that into practice, you can imitate what the others do, and that is also involved in skill. You remember, but you put that into practice. But in knowledge, these two not there. While both can be understood and memorized in knowledge part. So this is shown in the following exercise. You can go through this exercise, but I'm not going to do it now. So this is in the textbook. Yeah, I'll just go through a little bit. There are various strategies of helping a learner through explanation, memorization, demonstration, and practice. Memorization is knowledge actually. Explanation is also a part of knowledge, but demonstration and practice are skills. Which strategy would you use if you thought that the learner had not understood a point, had completely forgotten something? So this is all related to knowledge, as I think. Then which strategy would you use to help in the following situations? A friend learning to drive a car produces a horrible grating sound when changing gear. There's a skill to be trained. Okay. It is obvious that different problems will require different pedagogical actions. There are two basic ways of defining a skill: motor-perceptive skill and interaction skills. Let us look at these skills with respect to teaching speaking. Motor-perceptive skills. So what are the motor-perceptive skills? Explain. Motor-perceptive skills have to do with perceiving. That means perception. Sounds come to the ear and it goes through the brain, then the perception happens in the brain. Recalling and articulating. You are able to recall and articulate, put that into your own words, kind of, in the correct order, sounds and structures of the language. Motor perceptive skills have to do with perceiving, recalling, and articulating in the correct order sounds and structures of the language. So, the grammar, in a way. So, you are able to know your grammar, the structures of language. However, these skills are practiced without context, as best exemplified in the audiolingual approach to language teaching during the 1960s. But it has to be within a context. Speaking was seen as using the right sounds in the right patterns of rhythm and intonation. So, speaking, when it comes to speaking, speaking was seen as using the right sounds in the right patterns of rhythm and intonation, and choosing the right words and inflections in the right order to convey the right meaning. In order to achieve this, the teaching of speaking skills employs model dialogues, oral skills, and pattern practice and oral composition. So, the skill developed are model dialogues, oral drills, repeating the words and all that. Then patterns, practice, and oral composition. However, it became pretty obvious pretty fast that teaching speaking skills used in the activities listed above did not ensure a satisfactory transition to real life use of the skills. See the difference? Drill and kill method is that, but it doesn't really work. That's what it says here. It became pretty obvious pretty fast that teaching speaking skills using the activities listed above did not ensure a satisfactory transition to real life use of the skills. They know all that in the classroom, but when the real world scenarios, they can't talk, the students. So, in simple terms, the motor perceptive skills cannot be used directly in real life conversations, but to drill and practice, drill and kill. So, that's what they call. In order to speak and be understood in real life, a language learner needs to be able to choose and control what he wants to say. This requires a different set of skills in which the knowledge of the language and motor perceptive skills are used to communicate. This set of skills is known as interaction skills. See, we are going back. See, two basic skills, motor perceptive and interaction skills. So, we are going to more interaction skills. How good are your interaction skills? Have you always succeeded in meeting the objective of a communication? If no, think why. In general, interaction skills involves making decisions about what to say, how successful we have been so far, whether it is useful to continue the point, what our intentions are, and what kind of relations we intend to establish or maintain with the interlocutors. So this decision making process in what to say, and you manage your conversation. They also involve the ability to use language to meet particular demands. There are at least two demands that can affect the nature of speech. The first is related to the internal conditions of speech. That is the fact that speaking takes place under the pressure of time. These are called processing conditions. It makes a difference whether a piece of communication is carefully prepared or whether it is spoken on the spur of the moment. So it can affect our choice of words and our style. So, due to our time constraints, spoken interaction is full of short turns. So, phrases that are loosely strung together is an example. So, it seems contrary to expect second language learners to speak in full sentences. Hi, how are you? Good is a short sentence. Answer. I am good. How are you? Repeating is a long. So second language learners at the beginning, normally short words they will use. Not full sentences, short turns. So the ability to master the processing conditions of speech makes it possible for speakers to deal with a given topic while being listened to. This ability covers the basic communicative skill of producing speech at a normal speed under pressure of time. This is generally not a problem in language one, first language learning, because they have gone through that for a long time in each stage. It could, however, prove a problem for learners who have used the language only in written form or with heavy emphasis on accuracy. So, speech and writing are two different in a way. Writing is very formal and informal as well, but speaking also takes different forms, but it can, have half sentences and all that. The second type of demand involves the dimension of interpersonal interaction in conversation. These are termed reciprocity conditions, that is, the relation between the speaker and listener in the process of speech. The term enables us to distinguish between those situations in which both speaker and listener are allowed to speak and those where conventionally only the speaker has speaking rights. For example, during a speech. So the reciprocal dimension of affects speech because there is more than one participant. For example, in a reciprocal exchange, a speaker will often have to adjust his or her vocabulary and message to take the listener into account. The speaker also has to participate actively in the interlocutor message, asking questions, reacting, and so forth. So, this is something which requires an ability to be flexible in communication, and a learner may need to be prepared for it. So, what follows is a list of things we teach and test in language classes. Decide which examples of motor perceptive skills only and which are examples of both motor perceptive and interaction skills. Show the ability to produce at least 35 of the 14 phonemes in British English. It is a motor perceptive activity. Form the perfect tense correctly, which are followed by the past principle of the lexical verb. Motor perceptive. 3. Be able to ask someone the time. So it is motor perceptive and interaction skills. So have the ability to introduce yourself to someone you have never met before. That's the interaction skills. So try to find answers for the other things. Now think about it. You can stop the video and do that. Speaking and writing. Imagine that you are studying or traveling overseas. How would you communicate with your loved ones back home? Would you rather speak to them through the phone, send emails, or write letters? Speaking and writing are receptive skills. Actually, there is a mistake in this sentence. Speaking and writing are productive skills. Speaking produces, writing produces. Listening and uh, reading are receptive skills. So, so let me correct that as he got in this recording. These are productive skills. So, having said that, there is a significant difference in the way language is organized in both skills. Brown and Yule, 1983, they have made a distinction between spoken and written language. Written language is characterized by well-formed sentences which are integrated into highly structured paragraphs. Spoken language, on the other hand, consists of short, fragmentary utterances in a range of pronunciation. This makes spoken language feel less conceptually dense than other types of prose, such as expository prose. So, but of course, in formal speeches, it takes a little formal mood. So, with that in mind, specifically the features of spoken language are as listed below. Spoken language is syntactically much simpler than written language, which with few subordinate clauses. So it's much simpler. Incomplete sentences is another one. So this could be a question also. What are the features of spoken language? So incomplete sentences, much simpler syntactically. The vocabulary is usually much less specific than that of written discourse, with speakers using words such as it, somebody, they, you, and all that. Interactive expressions such as well, information is less densely packed than in written discourse. So these are the differences. The features of the spoken language are listed again here. So the same thing. So there's an activity. Although speaking is generally preferred to writing, there are certain times and situations where the latter is regarded as the more appropriate means of communication. What situations warrant written rather than oral communication? So, according to White, writing is not a natural activity. All physically and mentally normal people learn to speak a language. So, discuss those ideas. So, according to White, all people have to be taught how to write. This is crucial difference between the spoken and written forms of language. Writing is not a natural activity. So they have to, but speaking, is natural. So writing is displaced in time. Indeed, this must be one reason why writing originally evolved, since it makes possible the transmission of a message from one place to another, from one point of time to another. A written message can be received, stored, and referred back to at any time. So it is permanent in comparison with the ephemeral here 1 minute and gone the next character of spoken language. Even of spoken language that is recorded on tape or disc. So compare the advantages and disadvantages of speaking and writing. You can read the textbook on that and find the advantages and the disadvantages. So processing conditions of speech and writing to produce speech and writing. It is a warning to watch what we say is a saying. Why this is so? The reason lies in the first main difference between speech and writing, processing time. Speech, very quick. In simpler terms, words are normally spoken as they are being decided and understood. As speakers, time is our greatest nemesis. Since words are being spoken as they are being decided, speakers have no time to either plan or organize their message or control the language. Unlike the writer. So writer can control the language. How can time be more beneficial to the speaker than to the writer? Discuss in class. Then reciprocity conditions of speech and writing. What do you think is the major difference between speech and writing? Have you ever read a book and could not even finish the first page because there are too many unfamiliar words that suddenly make you question your English proficiency? Have you ever picked up a magazine and find yourself flipping through the pages for something exciting to read and finding only the same old stuff? In either case, you probably quit reading and toss both book and magazine aside. This is a writer's nightmare, but why? The answer lies in the second main difference between speech and writing. Speaking is a reciprocal activity, reciprocal, give and take. This significantly affects the kind of decisions that are likely to be made. The success of written communication to a large extent rests on the writer's and reader's ability to anticipate the other's point of view. Since the reader is not in front of him, a writer has no way of catering to the needs of the reader. So there's anticipation, writer and the reader both. The writer has to make guesses about what the reader knows and does not know. So guessing about what the reader will be able to understand and even about what the reader will want to read. A wrong decision and the scenario above become all too real. Similarly, the reader has no way of indicating to the writer that he doesn't understand something he knows everything that is written and therefore finds it boring. So the reader has no way to indicate that part. The reader therefore has to either skip the boring section or read it very carefully for extra information. So in short, both writer and reader need a lot of patience and imagination to make written communication works. Speakers, on the other hand, face a different scenario altogether. Most of the time, our oral communication is face to face. We could see every nod of the head, twitch of the nose, and tensing of the jaw, just to name a few. We could hear every oh, but then I see, and for many of us, we look out for these verbal and nonverbal signals to indicate to us that we have just said the wrong word and we had better change the subject, or that we seem to be saying all the right things. So, speakers have the luxury of immediate feedback. See, the luxury of immediate feedback. They can adjust their messages according to their listeners' reactions to improve understanding. So, in this, see, the speaker's task is facilitated. So, the readers of the writing and the speaker and the listener. See the difference. There is, however, not so desirable aspect to this immediate feedback. Speakers must, in fact, take notice of the feedback they get, lest they will be regarded as socially obtuse or absolutely arrogant or simply stupid. Arrogant or simply stupid. So, the speaker has to see to that. So, it would indeed be extremely odd. Obtuse. Actually, I mispronounced the word here. The word here is obtuse. 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 Which means it has different meanings. Okay. So it would be indeed be extremely odd if you go on saying what you wanted to say when your listeners have already indicated plainly that they have understood or that they have heard it all before. Just think back to how exasperated you were when that salesman whom you mistakenly opened your door to refused to stop her sales pitches even when you have clearly indicated you are not interested. Selling stuff. Exasperated you were when that salesman mistakenly opened your door when you didn't want that. So, you are talking about yourself in the following situations. With regard to reciprocity, answer the following questions for each situation. So, reciprocity. Does it make any difference who you speak to? Are some situations usually easier than others? In what ways? For example, at a job interview, to a close friend, to a class of 30. I'm just giving some examples. Just read this and see. See your reactions. What difference does it make? So we go into the topic facilitation and compensation devices in speech. In the previous section, we have discussed about the processing conditions affecting speech. One of the most important being time constraint. Due to time constraint, speakers alter the language they use in at least two main ways. So, language alteration by speaker, facilitation devices, simplifying structure, parataxis, hypotaxis, ellipsis, formulaic expressions, fillers and hesitation devices. Those are how we facilitate, facilitation devices. Then reformulation, compensate for errors made. So, what are the two ways of language alteration by the speaker? Using facilitation devices such as simplifying the structure, ellipsis, and so forth, and the reformulation by compensating for errors made by reformulating the words in the speech. So these are explained later on. but I'm request you to read the textbook for these facilitation devices for the easy production of language. There are four basic types that we discussed: simplifying the structure, ellipsis, or means the omission of parts of a sentence in another common facilitation device. So, what do you think of oral communication activities that require students to answer in complete sentences? It, are they useful? Not always useful, as we read above. Then we have the formulaic expressions, idioms, and phrases. Oh, it's nice to meet you. That kind of formulas. Then fillers and hesitations devices. You can read and take some examples. Then reformulation is another thing. So you can read that and see. So these are two questions for you. Describe the two types of skills necessary to develop listening skills. What are the skills you need? How do you create activities to promote these two skills? This is also very good for your assignment. So think about the answers. Again, you can go through the papers. State the process of speaking. What are receptive and productive skills? How are they related to language skills? So discuss. So this is also very good for your assignment that will help you to develop the skills and also to use it in the classroom. So not only knowledge but the skills are necessary. So that's what we have been discussing. So you can again go through the text and summarize it and prepare for the exam and the assignment. So good luck. This is Dr. George Pera for IHS and OUM.